G'day, welcome to part 30 of the XC restoration, and in this one, first thing we need to do, of course, is thank Russell. And Russell's a patron. He dropped off a whole lot of bits and pieces for me, or for us to use. Anything from large bulk packs of globes and rivets and fuses and shrink tube and all sorts of nuts and bolts, all sorts of stuff, which grommets as well, I can see. Lots and lots of stuff which I won't not use all of it on the car. I can use some of it on the car, but also future builds. I've got the Plymouth in front of me now. I can use some of the stuff on that, you name it. So Russell, thank you very much indeed for your generosity. So when I started this car, I lied. I said a couple of things. All right then. So I said the budget's 15 grand. I'm already up to 20. And that is such a lot of money. But like the XW, there's a couple of factors in that. The way the car was when I bought it, I could have got it on the road for 5 grand. I could have put a 6 in it, or a second-hand 302, Falcon 500 buckets, just a standard dashboard, you know, quick blow over with paint. You can get a car on the road for pretty much anything. It depends on the standard you want to attain. Now, I decided I wouldn't do it to the standard of the XW. The XW's got faults, and it's got quite a few of them too, because I did cut that off. Once I got to a certain sum, I just thought, nah, I'm bailing now. I'm not going to spend any more money. I didn't bother putting new stainless or reconditioned stainless. There's about $1,000 worth of stainless on it. I just thought, no, that's going too far. And of course, use a second-hand bumper and this sort of thing. With the XC, I thought, look, I'm not going to go that far with that. But of course, the more you do and the more it looks better, you tend to think, no, I might just push it a bit and I might go a little bit higher. So I'm now at the point where I think it's going to be a better car than the XW. It certainly should look. I just think it'll be a better car. It'll be a better driving car, and of course, it's a sort of a higher spec too. I'm using things like electric windows and manual, and manual's a dearest poison to get going, much more so than an auto in standard form anyway. But I had that Fairlane, and I sort of pulled out bits like this, a throttle cable. That's in good nick, you know. But the car had done 400 and something thousand Ks. Now, I doubt this is the original one, but even things like that sort of bellow there, that rubber bit, is all hard. And I've got a nice new looking car. And at the end of the day, this car, all the original parts are reconditioned, the rest of it's all new. And so it'll be like driving a brand new car. You know, it's got not an ounce of rust or anything like that. And I've really gone above and beyond to the best of my ability to make it into something a bit more desirable than what the other one is. So, you know, I looked at that, they're $100, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy a new one. I ended up doing that with the speedo cable as well, because I've made a stupid mistake and put an auto cable in a manual car, and of course they're a lot longer. So, I've not filmed some of it. This one is going to be, there's a lot on the tape deck. There's about 10 minutes on the tape deck, and a few other bits and pieces. The overflow bottle, it's all yellowed. I've got the peroxide solution over there for it, but I haven't had a fine day. I've had all this overcast weather, and you know what, I can't do it in overcast weather. I need UV, so I either have to buy a light or wait for a sunny day. So I might do that as a separate automotive restorers. Got a yellowed bottle, you want to do this, I might just do like a 5-minute video on it, separate to what the XC series is. But the deadline was originally a driving shell by the end of last year, and of course we bought the Plymouth, and the 351 engine needed boring, or it didn't really need it. I bought it, 20,000, all new parts, high eutectic this, or pistons, and was a billet timing set. I went for the best kit I could afford, and so in doing that it slowed it down. So it's going to be about another 5 grand to finish. It's going to wind up being about 25 grand by the time it's finished. Having said that, I'll get to that sort of sum, then I'll stop spending. I'm just not going to spend any more than that. But the car should be worth more than that when it's done, because I mean, where else do you find a brand new XC? So, hope you enjoy this one. This is reasonably long because I have spent a lot of time on bits and pieces. I bought a headlining, stuff like that. We talk a little bit about headlinings, or headliner if you're American, and the tape deck. But there's a lot of other bits and pieces in there. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. Just trying to countersink this acrylic sheet. This is for a mood lamp I'm making to be auctioned off at work for this sort of staff recreational / well-being area. And the problem with it is that I'm going against Godfrey. And that always makes me nervous because Godfrey's he's a freak. The things he can do, he made these reindeers out of logs and sticks. Then clear coated them. They look mental. They look really, really good. And they got like $200 each for them. And so he's made a couple of bits and pieces, and I'm doing theirs. This is just the same sort of acrylic I used on the just offcuts of it, if you know what I mean. This has got a nice big scratch like near the bottom. And the idea of it is it lights up when you turn it on. And there's like a scene. I've got that all masked up, and there's a scene with a tree and all. So I'm doing that at the moment. But when you do stuff like this, you just make sure when they stick it on a table, you don't put it anywhere near Godfrey's because it makes it look bad. So I'm not overly happy with this fan clutch on the premise that it freewheels from time to time. Oh, it's chipping. I didn't do a great job painting this. This was just a very, very quick paint job on the fan. And it's not all that tight either, but I'm not happy with it because every now and then, as I said, it tends to freewheel, which means it's got some sort of mechanical issue with that. This was the clutch that was missing the bimetal strip at the front, or the sort of core spring. And it gives rise to the fact that it's not operable to its sort of specified purpose, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to pop that off. Get out. And of course here it is here. It looks good. I mean, it cleaned up alright, and I put that spring on. And it does have resistance, but every now and then I'm going to do it now. It does freewheel. Now, given that this car has a new engine and all that sort of business, I'm going to put a new clutch on. Now, when you buy these, typically they're around $200. This was, we bought 3 of them actually. My brother bought one for his Mustang because the new fandangled, what do you call it, radiator fits, but the it runs too close to the water pump, so he's going this way. And here's the new item. Now, 2 of these, I bought 2. One for this car, of course, and one for the 351 I have to build for the XD. The one on the XW is good. I like these because they look OEM, but they're better than having, you know, they're better than having a sort of a fixed fan, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to pop a bit of Loctite on here. Interestingly, this hole at the front, holy crap. Oh, I didn't know that. This clutch comes with this sleeve which pops in there, and it seems to fit the other one as well. And that gives a tighter fit around that spigot on the flange of the water pump, so it's perfectly centered. Now, that actually fits in there too, which surprises me, but this looks like the same type of fan. I'm just going to pop a bit of Loctite on these things. I just don't want this thing coming off anytime soon. I'm going to pop some of this in, and a bit of Loctite won't hurt if I can get it out. There we go. And of course we've got star washers there, so Loctite's probably a little bit of overkill, but I don't think it's a precaution that's too overzealous. Now, aside from that locating sleeve, we've got new lock nuts, or lock washers, sorry, for the bolts, and an instruction sheet that goes into some detail of the unit, how to install it. So it's pretty good. The 2 units were $150 including postage. So they work out $75 each landed, which is an awful lot cheaper than what you can get them here with. So we can just put that on. That's nice and tight around there. And we'll put these new washers on. I prefer the ones with holes, not slots, but given that it was just so much more reasonable to get it this way, I've got no bones with it. I think it's a fantastic buy. Now, before we put the radiator in, we've got to put the fan shroud on. I've got that. It needs cleaning up, but it's a good OEM shroud. So I'll stick these in. I'll tighten these down, and I'll also just go over these with a ring spanner just to make sure that we have everything the way we want to. Another thing to make certain of when you're putting these on, if you're using one like this, which has slots there, which is to a point a universal type, just make sure the cut in the lock washer is on the steel part, not actually in that sort of open area, because that way it won't function as a lock washer. So I'm just going around and I'm tightening this down evenly to pull it in so it's all good. Oh, come on, get on. And I'll go around it with a ring spanner when I'm finished. So before we go too much further, I've got this sort of wind deflection kit and a couple to go down the sides of the radiator as well. Oh, it's raining. And that will ensure, of course, that airflow goes through the core of the radiator and not escape out the side, as air, like anything, will take the path of least resistance. It's easier for it to sort of blow out the edges rather than going through. So I have to drill holes for these ones because the last chap that had this car welded everything up, and I had to cut all this out here and weld a new piece in because he ruined it. Of course, we've got one for the top. I'd like to see this a bit wider because it has to make way for the brackets. The XD one's better because it sort of goes over them. That's much longer. But this one here is the bottom. And I'm assuming it goes this way. And I'm just going to pop this over that little reveal. And then of course the top will go over there. Like that. Let's give it a tap in. I've got my nylon hammer. Oops. Probably should have stuck this in before the fan. Like that. And you can go in here. And the radiator will just push that down. It'll just act as a curtain. I can't stand repro stuff that doesn't work properly. It doesn't fit. Oh, man. I'm just going to squeeze that up with multis. Doesn't it? Just a moment. Okay, so I'm ready to put the radiator in. I've got the shroud sitting here. This is an old shroud I've had for 10 years. It's been hanging up on the back wall. That's precisely where Ford had the original electronic ignition sticker. There was remnants of the sticker there, and it was sort of skewed on an angle like that. No big deal. I just put the other one over it. Despite the fact it hasn't got one in there at the moment. That was in the sticker kit, so I put it there. The problem I've got though is I can't push this back far enough to get the radiator in because of the ear on the side of the battery clamp. And if you remember, that was off an XB 6-cylinder. Now, I sort of modified the transmission cooler line to clear it with that clamp there. That's a battery clamp, battery cable clamp, so it's the wrong type, but it doesn't really worry me. But I'm going to have to take that out and push this back to get the radiator in. Okay, so I've got it back. I just use a screwdriver with a rag over it just to bend that transmission cooler line down. Or back again, because I sort of bent it to go around that battery clamp. I haven't done a great job cleaning that. It's clean, but it's sort of still got some dirty residues. I'm going to push that back now. So we just lower him down onto those mounts, those new rubbers, and then this will clip in on top if I can. Oh, this doesn't look like it's going to fit. That would be a dreadful shame if it doesn't. I'm just going to have to fiddle with this and see if I can make sense of it. It looks like it isn't going to fit. Well, this sucks because it doesn't fit. With the radiator's not sitting in its saddle properly, so I can get the shroud on, and even then it's still hitting the fan on this side. I'm going to check the part number against the XD, but this, I think, is the wrong one. And that's a big pain because it just means I can't use it. I'm just going to put a radiator in without a shroud, and I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. And it's not roadworthy because you can't have a fan that's just sort of flapping around out here. They have to have a shroud or something over them. Even like the XW's got a little one. Just something so that you can't get caught up in it. So it appears that this shroud, which is XD, isn't going to fit. It fouls with everything. I thought it would fit in. I was adamant that it would fit in, but it's not even close. It's far too far over this side, so it looks like XD's radiators are offset as opposed to these ones. Now, when I got this car, I checked it was square. The first thing I did before I cut any metal out and welded it or started fixing anything, I got underneath with a tape measure and made sure everything was square, as well as putting masking tape and marking the centre line of each wheel on the ground, moving the car and checking that for square, and it was all good. But this doesn't go. It's actually a real shame, so I bought another one which cost $125, which I wanted to get it for $10, but I couldn't. And look, it's completely different. It's far more central in terms of where the fan sits. So if I flick that around and drop that in, it'll now be at a stage where I can put the battery thing in, because the battery, what do you call it? What's it called? Battery bracket. That wouldn't fit in. I had to modify this, modify that. Not a big deal, but I thought it would drop straight in and it wouldn't. And then of course I can get the radiator and plop that in. Hopefully I don't hit anything. Like that. And that will just clip in. And we're good. The only thing wrong with this is it's slightly warped in the centre of it. It sort of flicks back like that, so it's a bit of a gag. Okay, so that's in, of course, we're spinning free, so that's cool. My wife and I are having an argument about who's a good guitarist. I said Slash from Guns N' Roses. I don't like his music, but I think he can play, and she laughed at me when I said that. So
he's crap.
Oh, Susie, I'm trying to do this. He's not. Martin Knopfler was another one from Dice.
Terrible.
He's not terrible, he's good.
Oh.
Martin Knopfler is a great guitarist.
You should hear me on the recorder. I'm better than him.
I've not heard you on the recorder, but he's a great guitarist. Prince was a good guitarist. You don't like Prince. I don't like Prince either, but...
I love Prince.
You don't like... You just bagged him.
No, I like him. I'm going to get my recorder out.
You get that. I reckon Slash is a great guitarist. Listen to the riff of November Rain. I don't like his music any more than you do, but I think he's a really, really good guitarist. He was good in Guns N' Roses. And I'm not a massive Gunners fan, but this is awfully close.
I'm a Gunners fan, and I think he's crap.
He's not crap, Susie. He's really good.
He's crap.
I'm going to have to modify this again. I think you're wrong.
Karen Carpenter.
Susie, I'm taping. Karen Carpenter had the voice of an angel. Stop laughing at me. She did. She was a brilliant, brilliant singer. And there was something else I was going to say too. Oh, drummers. You reckon that Susie, my daughter and wife like Godsmack, and it's really heavy rock and roll. And I was, drumming wise, these great. The lead singer and the drummer have a duet. Is that right? Was it a drumming? Yeah, it was a drum off.
Yeah, a drum off. And
right.
Real men like Godsmack.
Alright, get on
like Karen Carpenter.
Look, she was a drummer, but not in the same sort of capacity. But no, look, listen to this. You want to see a good drummer? Get on YouTube. Look at Dylan Elise. He's a New Zealand guy, young guy, and he does drum solos. This guy can twirl the drumsticks as it's hitting cymbals in a fill. It's ridiculous what he can do. I showed Alana and she goes, "No, Godsmack are better." I don't think I've ever seen a drummer as good as Dylan Elise.
No, you're on crack.
I'm not a crack. I reckon.
Crack.
No, rubbish. He is amazing. Watch Dylan Elise.
No.
Anyone watching this video, watch Dylan Elise.
No.
He's
You're
amazing.
wrong.
I've got to get this on. How does this go? Hang on. Is that right? Yeah. No, watch Dylan Elise. You'll. I mean, I was just amazed. I was godsmacked.
Well, you're Karen Carpenter.
Smacked. No, she was. I liked her. I thought her voice.
She's lovely.
Her voice is second to none. She's got an
She's
amazing
lovely.
voice. I'm going to turn this off again. He's actually brilliant. That BG tribute.
He
I
was
thought-
the only good one on the
He
whole
was.
show.
Oh, the others were good, but he was exceptional. And he got a standing ovation. He's actually.
He's
I've got.
absolutely lovely.
He's an Aussie, isn't he?
Yeah.
Keith Urban.
Yeah. He's Sydney.
But I mean, I don't like the other guy's music. I don't like Slash's music, but I do think he can play guitar. He can.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I really don't see it.
You're not supposed to see it. You're supposed to hear it.
Yeah, I can't hear it. It's like that. What's his name? Emmanuel.
Oh, Tommy Emmanuel. And he pulls those faces when he plays.
Yeah, it's like, are you having a poo or I don't know.
Seriously, what the
I can't really tell the difference.
He does look like he's having a poo, doesn't he? Chucked a bit of glue in there. I'll just throw this tree in. Uh-oh, too much glue. Oh dear. What do we got? Turn it around a bit. Oh, that is far too much. That looks disastrous. I'm going to get a sponge. We can't really see the effect of it, but we can turn it on and that'll all line up and so forth. We'll get a little Schleck cow or something and put it there. That'll do. Hopefully it sells. It might just be seen as a piece of crap, but it should be okay. Oh, my babies. My babies. I'd like to talk a little bit about headliners. I've got 3 of them, or headlining, depending on where you're from in the world. And I've just got these 2 trestle tables with a reasonably clean sheet. Not dirty enough to leave any marks, but when you get these headlining, you get them packaged like that. And so what we need to do is we need to avoid it wrinkling, which of course is already going to be wrinkled. This is the one for the XC. The other one's an XC one as well. I'll put the camera in the way. And of course there's the Plymouth one, which isn't relevant to this car, but I'm just going to try and stretch it out. There's a bit of leftover material like this, and you can see how easily it creases and looks somewhat second rate. So that will all come out, and of course the XW's was terribly creased, and it took a couple of 35-degree days before it sort of ironed itself out of the car. But I'm not really, this is an off-white, a neutral, which I need to use. That's an offcut there for the, what do you call them? Sun visors. So I'll put that to one side for a moment, and I'm just going to stretch this out, because I want to have a look at it. And I also want to compare it to the one that's in the car now, or the one that was in the car. That's the back. But what I want to do is see if the listings, which are these colour-coded little envelopes here the bows go through, I want to make sure that they're going to be the same, or at least in the same place. Now these are held in by 5, I think, 1, 2, 3, yep, 5 listings, and the front tucks in over a sort of a thin steel rail which has a trim that sort of plugs over it. The back's tucked around the window glass, and so on and so forth. So you only get one chance with these. If you screw them up, they don't look good. So of course when we cut out holes for things like interior courtesy lights or rear courtesy lights, we need to make sure we're on the ball with that. So I'm just going to get the other one now. And of course here's the old one in lovely ochre. And I just want to, there's the bows still in them. Now these bows are colour coded and they're different lengths. Slightly different shapes too, I believe. But there will be a certain amount that this is shrunk back. But I just want to make sure that we're round about right. There is a certain amount of give with these. These bows will rotate a little bit. You can get away with that. But as long as we're looking good in terms of the pattern, I'm okay, because the XW one was wrong. The XW had a very long panel in this, I think it was this second panel here, was long, and I had to remount the rear bows to get rid of the creases. But this one looks good. This looks really good, and there's plenty of overlap at the sides. In fact, I haven't even got that central, and there's still overlap. So I'll just pull that in here. And as long as it's big enough, I don't care, because you can always cut material off, but you can never add it. I showed this briefly in another video. This is the one I bought for the Plymouth, and you couldn't see the beauty in it from the other video. Now, the Plymouth is 1957. I think it's going to be easy to see here. We have this lovely starline fabric. The car is a pillared two-door, a pillared coupe, or I think they call them club sedans. I don't know if you can see those stars. I'll move the camera in a moment. But I'm getting this out because I have a reason for that as well. And there's a method in my madness, so to speak. But you can see how wrinkled it up. Now, when we wrinkled up it is. Now, when we go to put this in, we don't want that. There'll be a certain amount of gathering, I guess. But I'm wondering whether it's going to be better rolling it. Which side to roll it from, because it has gathered. So, just have a quick look at this pattern. I can't focus on the blasted thing. Oh, look, I'm going to have to sort of hope that you can see. Oh, there you go. I think that's in focus now. But yeah, it's got those stars through it and little lines between the stars. I think it looks absolutely lovely, and I think it looks really period correct as well. In fact, the stars have a way of sort of shimmering. If we look over there, the camera won't pick it up. It does look a lot nicer to the naked eye. So to store these, because the Plymouth one won't be going on yet, which I don't know what I'm going to do first. I'm sort of waiting on some warmer weather. I want to roll it up and keep it from creasing. Now this roll was given to me by Darren Main. He's the son of Bill Main, who's a renowned classic car upholsterer here in Melbourne. And so I'm just going to roll it over and just store it as a roll, if that makes any sense. This is being fitted professionally. I'm going to get Darren to fit this, where the XC one I'm going to fit. I think the XC one's going to be leaps and bounds easier than this because it's sort of a squarer turret. And I did the one on the XW with Jason. Well, he did it. No, he did some of it. But I just think it's a better way to go if I give this one to a pro. And so we will wrap our Falcon one inside the Plymouth one, or outside the Plymouth one. It'll probably still come out wrinkly, but I'll store it inside where it's warm, and hopefully it just makes it fit that bit easier. The XCs had, well, the dusk ones, the blue ones, had a jade green one, they had this one here, the off-white and the neutral one, they had a yellowy one too, doe skin I think it was called, but they never made a black one, and the black interior cars all had those, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to put a bit of tape just around it. Oops. But just around the fabric part. And where the tape overlaps, I want to just fold that over so there's always a tab there so I can just unwrap it. I don't want to have to cut it. And then we can put it away. Beautiful. And of course we cut to the XD Falcon. Now there's a story with this, and I love telling stories because, well, I do that at school all the time with the kids. Sort of breaks the monotony of a lesson and gets them in the mood for what you're about to teach. Now back in 1979 when Dad bought this car, it came with the standard issue XD Falcon wheels, which looked fairly bland. Now when he got it, it actually had aftermarket plastic wheel trims, which were very, very strong in resemblance to what you'd find on a Datsun 200B. Now we hated them and we wanted to take them off, and he wouldn't let us touch them. He said he liked them. Now I don't think he liked them, I just don't think he wanted us to mess with his car. So a couple of years after he died, around 1987-88, I had my XCs, and at the same time this car needed tyres, so I went out and I sourced these S-Pack wheels. Now the reason for that is because the wheel covers were all damaged and one was missing, and they were just all smashed on account of living in park orchards with rocks along the driveway, and I did a lot of horse float work, and of course turning wide meant you would hit those rocks and smash the wheel trims. Now you couldn't get other ones the same, and I didn't really want to anyway, so I found these in the trading post for $140 for the set, and that included the rims and the trim rings, the chrome trim rings. The centres were, I think, the original ones that were on the car. Now that seller also wanted to get rid of his cassette deck from his XC. He'd bought a new, like a Voxon type thing, which was popular at the time, and it had an integral cassette deck with it. So he was taking out the cassette deck. And now here's the cassette deck that he had. Now, I bought it to put in my XC, and of course that was the blue one I had that I ended up swapping for a P5 LTD, and I was narky because I traded it at Car City and got virtually nothing for it. I swapped it for this P5, which was in pretty poor health. But I had a reason for doing that, and that's that the engine I'd built for it had developed a slight knock. Looking back on it, I don't think it was a crankshaft knock. I think it was just piston slap or something like that. It wasn't a big deal, but at the time I sort of panicked about it and wanted to get rid of it. So I took this out. It was in a plastic bag in my cupboard, bedroom cupboard at Mother's house. Of course, recently when she moved, I found it, having forgotten all about it. Now, it has had some use. You can see here, above the eject button, where people have been pressing it. They've worn the paint a little bit. And of course, the minimum and low on the volume and tone the paint's been diminished there, so you can see it's just through just basic wear and tear and use. So otherwise, this is absolutely stunning in terms of condition. A couple of very light scratches on the slide bit here where the cassettes get pushed in, and of course, you know, the rest of it's history. But these things, this was what I offered to Andy, and he didn't want it. And I sort of looked at it again and thought, you know what, I'm going to stick it in my XC and just run a couple of front speakers. The trinket tray I've got in place of this isn't very good. The rest of the stuff I've got in the car is beautiful, and the trinket tray does let it down. I think it's got a crack in it, and it's not very nice. So I am going to use this now. First thing I want to do is power it up and see what happens. So I think I'll just pop the lid off. If I can find an appropriate screw stick. I'll flick him around. How do you take him off? Oh yeah, there's a screw there. Whoops. It's got a couple of scratches here. They always do that because of the way they're sort of fitted. In the car, you sort of slide it into this steel carrier. There's one on the top there I can see. Hang on, I'll just flick it around. I'm using a really long screwdriver, which I'm not sure of the reason for that, but anyway. And I don't know anything about this. I know it works because I used it in the car, but again, I didn't use it much. When you have an 8-cylinder engine, you tend to listen to those things instead of the crap on the radio or the lack of cassettes or whatever you have in the car. Now this is really antiquated kit, and it won't sell. It won't sort of sound very nice, but at the end of the day, if it works, it's just another thing that's good. But I'm sure the belts are gone now. And looking inside, it is absolutely immaculate. And what's even more or better about it is they don't use belts. I've just discovered they've got sort of rollers. Where's the thing? I don't know if you can see with the screwdrivers, but it's got these little rollers here and here. Of course, you've got one playback head. There's no record capability, and 2 capstans and pinch rollers. And there's your pinch rollers there. And the biggest giveaway of whether or not a unit's had a lot of use is the discoloration on the rollers. And you can see there's a little bit of a brown stripe there, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Hang on. Now, when we put a cassette in, I'll just put this one in. You actually forcefully push the cassette in, and the whole carrier moves back and starts engaging. Now, oh, there might be a belt in there. I might have to take the bottom off. It's all basically very, very mechanical, and of course the eject button just releases it. But the actual loading mechanism is done by the energy you push into dropping the cassette in. On the front we've got a program knob, and that just changes direction. The head stays there, everything stays the way it is, obviously. You don't have to flick it out and turn it around. These ones have an arrow indicator on the front via an LED, or a light, I don't know what it is, and that signifies the direction, I guess. But I wonder if I can pop the bottom off. I don't know if I can on this. I'll just have a quick look. Those knobs just come off. Oh, I just don't want to damage it. I mean, these are huge money on eBay now, and $120 will buy you a ratty looking one, and then they're charging extra for the rubber surround. I think they stay on the machine, so I'll just take those 2 front screws off and see if I can get that panel to come off. Okay. Oh my gosh, that is so clean. How clean is that? Do they come off? No, they stay, which is all good. There's the other ones. The casing ones are divulged there. So I'll take those off. Gosh. The condition of this thing is ridiculously good. Right. So, this is just nuts how bad it is, but it's not leaving any residue. I might take the it's just getting all over my hands. I'm using thinner to get it off. If anyone watching this knows where I can get a belt, look at that. It is a freaking mess. I knew this had happened because a lot of electronics channels have the same issue with open reel recorders and also cassette decks. So this is what car restoration is like. I can't test this. I sort of plan to test it, and I can't. It is worse than the worst type of grease. It is just the pits, this stuff. And we've got such a beautiful unit, which is a ruddy mess. Right, so again, I've just gone over that with fine Scotch-Brite. You got to be careful too. I'm not using gloves because I want to keep a good handle on this. Because if I drop that and knock that shaft out of whack, it's not going to work properly. It'll never ever work properly again. They all seem to be Mitsubishi motors too. Oh, look at this. Oh my gosh. 3rd of September 1974. My goodness. So this had a motor change a long time ago because it's been in my cupboard for 30 years and I had it in use for a couple of years before that, or about 12 months or so before that. And the motor's dated 74. Now these, it's possible that's the original type. But these things weren't in production until 76, so you would think the motor would be dated accordingly. But of course, if these are constructed elsewhere and they sit in bulk in a factory or whatever, then it's foreseeable that it could be a very old one, or at least an old dated one that sat idle and didn't get used. There we go. Make sure that's seated properly, which it is. Okay, so these are clean. So because the belt was in such disarray and all broken and so forth, I'm just going to work out the rough length of it somehow. And I'm not all that sure how, but anyway. And of course, then I can just cut that. I mean, look, you can probably just, I'm not going to cut this, hang on a sec. You can probably there we go, that'll give us the length, and I can just work out the circumference of it by doing that. But otherwise, you could probably just, measure the diameter, work out circumference, the percentage it's on, do it mathematically. I reckon it's easy just wrapping a little bit of fine string around it like this. And that will give me the answer I want in terms of ordering a belt and so forth. I have arrived at the conclusion that I just put, there's a little shim, and I think the shim goes on this side, not that. So I'm just going to pull that out again. And then I should be good. You don't want to be overzealous with lubrication. I'm just going to put a tiny dot of machine oil on the ends of those. And put this back on. And of course, when I get the belt, I'll just have to be awfully careful that those little round washers don't come off. And so it's just a matter of just reassembling it now. I can't do anything at the moment. I've got to order belts, or a belt, and the belt needs to be a ribbon belt. Most of the belts you find for these things, that's not sitting down, why? Most of the belts you see for these are square cut. There we go. And I need a ribbon belt. Here we go. So we get that, stretch it out. We have a length of 29 centimeters, which is your circumference. We can divide that by pi. What's that point? 3.1428. And that'll give us the diameter of the belt. But in saying that, we still have to go a size smaller to allow for it to stretch. That's the actual stretched length of the ribbon belt we need to get. But we can get that. Should be readily available. So we have a couple of horns. These are XY type ones. They sort of fit where the shocker thing is somehow. I think that one goes like that. Well, like that. And this one sort of sits underneath it. They're plastic sort of aftermarket ones, but they'll do the job nicely. Same sort of thing as the XW's got, except the mounting bracket's different. Oh dear. Where is it? Down here. So this is sort of basically what it's going to do. It's going to switch on the back and we turn it on. And if you imagine it's sort of, it's supposed to, anyway, it's got like a, can you turn the light on? It's got like a Bambi sort of reindeer thing. No, this one, Rose. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. We'll see how that goes. So I haven't filmed a lot of the bits and pieces. I was doing like, you know, oh, now we're going to fit this clip and we're going to fit some new bonnet pins. Because, I mean, you can film absolutely everything and you wind up doing a, you know, bolt by bolt film job, and that's just going to be ridiculous. I haven't put the bottle in yet because I haven't whitened it up yet. There's a couple of horns. What do you call it? That's the hose for the washers. There's the plug for the washers. We're good. What else did I do? I replaced the rock cover gaskets because I was using the ones that on the test stand from the junkyard engine. Pardon me. I've got, oh gosh, I've almost got indigestion. Put that on, as I mentioned, bonnet pins, the pin kit, or whatever you call it. I don't like reusing these because of these clips at the back. You never get them back on as good as they are when they're brand new, so I've just put new ones on. Earth strap on the engine down there. I still haven't put the gearbox loom on, which is just 2 wires basically. And I still haven't plugged that wiper motor on because I need to take it out again just to repaint the actuator arm. And we've also got a bunch of convoluted tube here which goes down to the starter. Well, sort of goes to the starter, there it is there. And I need to fiddle with that a bit. Got the cooler in. Did I mention that? I don't know if I mentioned that. The tranny cooler. Had trouble and broke it, and of course had to add a piece down there, which I don't like, but for now that's going to be fine. I'm forgetting stuff. I really am forgetting stuff. Everything's wired. Tentatively wired up the choke, but I don't want to use that coil. I use the 12 volt one. I sorted out the alternator. The wire, the charge wire down there was a bit, how you going? It was a bit close for comfort. Of course I have a radiator in, got the rubber kit, got the shroud, got the clutch fan down there. We've already talked about that. Here's the speedo cable, which is shorter. Had trouble with the other end of this not going to the back of the speedometer, so I had to fiddle with it a bit. It was just a little bit too big on one side, so I just filed it off a little bit. That bit there. I haven't ordered yet. I'm about to order a belt for the tape deck. But the light's pretty gruesome down here, but you can see the tape deck down there. I haven't got the battery hooked up. And, forgot to bolt that in. The crash pad. So this is all looking really, really good. I'm absolutely stoked for how this car's turning out. We're cool. So I really wanted to have the, what do you call it, the engine bay absolutely done and dusted by the end of this chapter, and of course, as usual, I failed. Because there are a few other things I want to do. I need to also change that pot at the back where that electroplate is stuffed it up. Just odds and ends like that. And of course, once I get that throttle cable, it's in the post as we speak. I can put the throttle cable on, air cleaner on, and I can pretty much close the, I was going to say close the bonnet on this, but there's no bonnet. I can shut the lid on this if you like, and then concentrate on other stuff around the car. Anyway, drive safely, enjoy a classic, and I'll see you later.